History is littered with the remnants of once great empires. These empires often meet their end not solely due to external forces, but from internal decay. The seeds of decline are often sown from within. Complacency, corruption, and governance failures can undermine even the mightiest of empires. Understanding these internal factors is critical. Prosperity can lead to poor decision-making and societal divisions. Decline is often gradual, with small issues becoming crises over time. By studying the past, we can chart a better course for the future. The decline of nations is rarely a sudden event. It is a gradual process, often spanning generations. This gradual erosion makes it challenging to recognize the warning signs in real time. Empires, like all living organisms, experience periods of growth, maturity, and eventual decline. Take, for example, the Roman Empire. It did not crumble overnight. Its fall was a slow descent over centuries, marked by internal strife, economic woes, and weak leadership. Similarly, the British Empire, once a global superpower, experienced a gradual decline throughout the 20th century. This decline stemmed from a multitude of factors, including economic challenges, the rise of nationalism within its colonies, and the exhausting toll of 2 world wars. These examples highlight the insidious nature of decline. It creeps in slowly, often masked by outward displays of power and grandeur. This makes it imperative to look beyond superficial indicators of strength and examine the underlying health of a nation's institutions, economy, and social fabric. Complacency, a sense of self-satisfaction and unchallenged superiority, is a frequent precursor to decline. When nations achieve a certain level of power and prosperity, they risk becoming complacent. This can lead to a decline in innovation, a weakening of national defenses, and a disregard for potential threats. The Roman Empire, again, provides a stark example. As Rome grew in power and influence, its citizens, particularly the elite, became increasingly complacent. They relied on the glories of the past, neglecting the need for continued vigilance and adaptation. This complacency left them ill-prepared for the challenges posed by barbarian invasions and internal strife. The lesson here is clear. Success can breed complacency. A nation's ability to maintain its position on the world stage depends on its capacity for self-reflection and its willingness to adapt to changing circumstances. Resting on past laurels is a surefire recipe for decline. Corruption and weak governance are corrosive forces that eat at the core of any nation. When leaders prioritize personal gain over the public good, trust in institutions erodes. This leads to a breakdown in law and order, economic instability, and a decline in the overall well-being of the populace. Consider the Qing Dynasty in China. By the 19th century, corruption was rampant within the government. Officials exploited their positions for personal enrichment, neglecting their duties and leaving the empire vulnerable to both internal rebellions and external pressures. The Taiping Rebellion, a devastating civil war in mid-19th century China, was fueled in part by widespread discontent with government corruption and ineffectiveness. This example illustrates the destructive impact of corruption. It undermines the legitimacy of the state, breeds cynicism among the population, and creates an environment ripe for instability and decline. Economic inequality often sows the seeds of social unrest. When a significant portion of the population struggles while a small elite prospers, instability follows. This can manifest as social unrest, protests, and even revolutions. The French Revolution provides a potent example. Glaring inequality and economic mismanagement ignited the French Revolution. The French Revolution serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of economic disparities. Internal divisions, whether based on ethnicity, religion, or ideology, can fracture a nation and weaken its ability to present a united front. When different groups within a society are at odds with each other, it can lead to political gridlock, social unrest, and even civil war. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, a patchwork of diverse ethnicities and nationalities, exemplifies this point. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, the empire struggled to manage its internal divisions. Nationalist movements gained traction within its various ethnic groups, each seeking greater autonomy or outright independence. This internal strife ultimately contributed to the empire's collapse in the wake of World War I. The Austro-Hungarian experience underscores the importance of managing diversity effectively. Inclusive governance structures, respect for minority rights, and a shared sense of national identity are crucial for mitigating the dangers of internal divisions. Section 7. Overreach and Exhaustion. The British Experience. Empires, in their pursuit of power and influence, risk overextending themselves militarily and economically. This overreach can lead to resource depletion, economic strain, and a decline in the home country's overall strength. Over time, the burden of maintaining a vast empire can outweigh the benefits, leaving the nation vulnerable to decline. The British Empire, while undoubtedly one of the most successful empires in history, also fell victim to overreach. By the early 20th century, the costs of maintaining its vast colonial possessions, coupled with the economic strains of two world wars, took a toll on Britain's economy and global standing. The British experience highlights the dangers of imperial overreach. Maintaining a vast empire requires significant resources and constant attention. Over time, this can drain a nation's strength and leave it vulnerable to decline. Section 8. The Weight of Leadership. Louis XVI and the French Revolution. Louis XVI, the last king of France before the French Revolution, serves as a prime example of how ineffective leadership can have disastrous consequences. Louis was indecisive, lacked vision, and failed to address the pressing issues facing France. His inability to implement reforms or alleviate suffering contributed to the French Revolution. Section 9. Recognizing the signs. Preventing the fall. The decline of nations is a complex phenomenon with multiple contributing factors. However, by examining historical patterns, we can identify common threads and warning signs. Complacency, corruption, economic inequality, internal divisions, overreach, and weak leadership are all red flags that should not be ignored. Recognizing these signs is the first step towards preventing decline. Nations must be willing to engage in self-reflection, acknowledge their shortcomings, and take proactive steps to address them. This requires strong institutions, effective governance, a commitment to social justice, and leaders who prioritize the long-term well-being of their nations over short-term gains. History teaches us that decline is not inevitable. Nations that are willing to learn from the mistakes of their predecessors, adapt to changing circumstances, and address internal weaknesses can avoid the fate of those who came before them. Section 10. A perpetual cycle of rise and decline. The rise and fall of nations is a recurring theme throughout history. No empire, no matter how powerful, is immune to decline. By studying the past, we gain insights into the present and the future. Corruption erodes society, inequality breeds unrest, and weak leadership exacerbates problems. The fate of nations rests in the hands of their people and leaders. Their choices determine whether nations flourish or fade.